And actually, when you read about the concept of fitrah, and many ulama have spoken about this, but one of the greatest ulama, alim, who has written about this topic is Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah. And it's very interesting how Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, writes about this topic of the fitrah, because he actually says that it's not just human beings that have been created on the fitrah. Actually, jinn have been created on the fitrah, angels have been created on the fitrah. The entire creation of Allah is created on the fitrah. The fitrah is not specific to human beings. The fitrah is basically the blueprint or the fundamental essence of the creation that is pointing to Allah, that is pointing to the creator. So this is actually what Shaykh al-Islam says about the fitrah in his commentaries and his different works on the topic. But this is something that is not only we read about it in the Quran, in the Sunnah, we read about it from our great ulama of our history, scholars like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. This is also something that is corroborated by the modern empirical sciences. The modern psychological sciences have also affirmed this fact that human beings naturally develop certain kinds of theological beliefs, certain kinds of theological intuitions, and this is something natural that humans naturally have. And they base this conclusion that it's natural on different types of studies. So they do childhood developmental studies, they do cross-cultural surveys, they do neuroimaging of the brain, and based on all of this data, empirical data, they come to the conclusion that belief in God is actually natural. It's something natural. It's something found universally amongst human beings. It's something as natural to human beings as having, two hands and 2 feet, and having 2 lips and a tongue and 2 ears and 2 eyes and a nose. It's as natural as that. And it's not just belief in God as creator. There's more. There are actually more beliefs, natural beliefs, that are found universally. And they call this natural theology. Natural theology. And there are 4 main beliefs of this natural theology. And I'll describe them to you. Number 1, there's an intuition about God, about there being a creator, and about a being who is not, material like, the material world, and is not a bodily, person like a human being, that this God exists. So a God with specific attributes, a creator. This is something that is a universal intuition. Second, there's the intuition about this soul, the human soul, actually, that there is an immortal soul, that there is life after death, and the soul actually continues to exist after death. This is something universal. It's not, beyond just even the, Islam or Christianity or Judaism. Even in other religions that might not have any kind of book, for example, or organized theology, they still have this kind of belief. Third, there is an intuition that all things in the universe were created purposefully by God. And by God, again, they mean a creator, a supremely powerful being. This is a natural belief. The universe has a purpose. The world around us was created with a purpose. And part of this is also the belief that God has created this creation, and God himself is above the creation. He is above so this is actually something found in throughout all religions. This is found in throughout all religions. It's found throughout all these cultures, that God is above the creation, and he has created the world specifically for the benefit of human beings, for the benefit of humanity. That is also something universal. And then the fourth, there's an intuition that when you do something good, a good deed or a good action, that will bring some benefit. That will have some kind of benefit or reward. And if you do something bad, like committing a sin or committing some kind of oppression or injustice, that will result in some kind of punishment or a harm that will come. And this is universal. Again, you find the idea of karma in Hinduism or different Indic religions, for example. You find the same concept in Native American religions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these are identified as the main tenets of, or the main aqidah, we could say, of this natural theology. Now, obviously, the way that these psychologists explain this and cognitive scientists explain this is that these are like building blocks. And then these building blocks take on different forms and expressions in different religions. And the way that we understand it, and we know it to be the case as Muslims, is that people have corrupted their fitrah. You know, Allah has given you this fitrah that allows you to recognize Allah, recognize that you are a creature of Allah, that you've been created for a purpose, and that there is an akhirah, and there is judgment. There is a judgment based on if you do good or you do bad. Allah has given all of these intuitions inbuilt, and then people corrupt it. People corrupt it. They change the revelation of Allah. They change their fitrah, and this goes against what Allah says in the verse, in the ayah. The religion of Allah is not going to be changed, right? It's not going to be replaced with something else. This is how Allah has created all human beings. So this gives us, a advantage, right? And before I get into the advantage, let me just say how this natural theology completely contradicts atheism, because the atheists claim that people are born as atheists. The natural default state for people is atheism, and to disbelieve in God, to disbelieve in the afterlife. These are just myths. These are things that have been invented by people to manipulate society, to manipulate preachers and shaman and imams have invented these myths in order to control people and scare them, and to scare them so that they will, for their own benefit. This is the common atheistic story that you'll hear from, the new atheists like Sam Harris or Richard Dawkins, or you'll hear even before them from someone like David Hume, different philosophers, atheistic philosophers. This is their explanation for religion. Or Karl Marx, for example, has this kind of explanation for religion. That's just a myth used to manipulate people, that people have just invented. They've invented these ideas. But this research, and the research has really been developed over the past 10 to 20 years. So it's pretty new research on the psychology of religion. This research completely debunks some of the main assumptions of atheism, that humans are naturally atheistic and then these religions are invented. No, actually, these religious beliefs have a deep origin in natural human development. And that's why they're seen universally. How can you explain the fact that people across the world have the same beliefs, and children across the world have the same beliefs? I'll cite one particular very eye-opening research done by Oxford researcher Olivera Petrovich. And she has written an article. She also has a book on the topic. But basically, she wanted to experiment on children's belief in God. So she was mainly looking at two countries, the UK and Japan. And she wanted to ask children in the age range of 4 to 6. She wanted to ask them about their beliefs in God. So what she did was she took cards, like flashcards, and these flashcards had pictures on them. So she would show the child a picture of a house, and she would say, "Who made this?" And the child will say, "Oh, this was made by people. The people made a house." She would show a picture of a car. "Oh, people, who made this?" And they'd say, "A car was made by people." people built this car. Then she would show a picture of a mountain. Who made this mountain? Or she would show a picture of a tree. Who made this tree? And the children would universally say, this was made by God. God made this. And this is a surprising result, because not every culture has this idea of a creator God. So in Japan, in their Shinto religion, they don't have this idea that there's a powerful God that has created the universe. That's not part of their religion. But the children in that society express this kind of belief in God, and not just any God, but specifically all-powerful creator God who has made trees and mountains and the sun and the moon and the oceans. That's a belief that the children have. So this is a kind of experiment that shows that this is something universal, that it's not because of the influence of culture, because in Japan and the UK or France or Africa or Canada, these are all different cultures. They're all different histories, and they're independent from each other geographically. So if there's some certain belief or certain behaviors or certain emotions or intuitions that are expressed in the same way across all of these different cultures independently, that is very strong evidence that this is something natural. It's something biologically rooted. It is something universal. So this is how they come to the conclusion about these four different tenets of natural theology. So that's one way that these studies basically refute some of the main assumptions of atheism